am I? Welcome everyone. I'm Julia Brouwers. I'm 27 years old from the Netherlands, and I'm currently living in the Netherlands as I just came back from my year in Dubai. Um, I'm born and raised here, and I've lived abroad in my life a bit. I've lived in Switzerland, I lived in Ghana, and just recently came back from Dubai. And when I was younger, I was actually a professional athlete. I was a professional swimmer. When I was about 13, 14 years old, I became Dutch national champion in the relay with my team. And the coaches in the Netherlands had scouted me as an upcoming talent. They wanted me to participate in the Olympics upcoming in 2012, I guess. And yeah, everything looked very bright for me. I was training a lot. I was training about 6 to 8 times a week, sorry. And everything was just focused on swimming. I don't know if any of you have any experience with sports or doing it in a high level, but it just asks a lot for you. And my whole world turned around swimming and training and becoming better every day. Until one day I was in class in school and my legs suddenly just fell out. I became paralyzed from my hips to my toes. I couldn't move anymore. I couldn't stand up anymore, which was a very terrifying moment as I was only 14 years old by then. And this was 1 week before the Dutch National Championship started, which I trained for so long. So as you can imagine, as a person being only 14 years old, you know, in puberty and all these things going around, just wanted to play with classmates and just hang out with them and studying and all these things. All of a sudden, I couldn't participate in their life, in this living of a 14-year-old anymore, which is very confronting, and it did change my mindset a lot, especially many years later. It took me about 7 years before I found diagnosis. The doctors found out I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a connective tissue disorder, and which impacts my connective tissue, and therefore it's just weak, and I experience a lot of pain every day. As you can imagine, as a teenager, I was swimming, I was training, I was playing, I was running, I was doing everything as a normal child would do. And more. And then all of a sudden I was in a wheelchair. I couldn't move myself around as I had problems with my shoulders. So I was always depending on other people carrying me or pushing me or helping me. And as a very independent-minded person, that was very, very challenging. And what I saw changing quickly was how people started treating me, but also how people started looking at me. It was as if they thought I lost my own person and became someone else. While of course that wasn't true. I was just having a disability where I was just slightly different from everybody else, and I just simply needed a bit more help from others. So in school at that age, as you can imagine, the first few months of being in the wheelchair, or weeks I should say, kids around me thought it was cool. They were like, oh, this is nice. We can now use the elevator. We don't have to go by stairs if we push Julia around. And so I quickly became very popular. But as quickly as that came, that also faded very quickly, because kids were then, after 2-3 weeks of pushing me around, they were a bit fed up with me in my wheelchair. And I was kind of like just left alone by myself. And this was the first time in my life that I've been confronting with how it feels to be different and therefore being treated differently, which changed me as a person, but also changed my look at the world and what I think is important. I then had to do, after my high school, I finished a degree in coaching, psychology coaching, and I thought my mission on this planet should be helping parents who have children that face the same kind of, that it was quite tough to get a job, because if you don't have any experience, you're not going to get a job offer. People are not going to just say, hey, welcome to our team, come and work for us. So what happened is that I thought I need to get some experience of my own without being paid, so I can do it freely. And I ended up Googling I typed in on Google volunteer work. And the first thing that came up was volunteer work in Ghana. And I did some research. Ghana is a West African country. I did some research. It's a safe country. It's nice people, whatever. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go there. Well, obviously, my parents weren't the biggest fan, as they were very afraid that something would happen to me, since I was only very vulnerable myself. At that time, I was still walking around with a walker to support me. However, I decided to go because I really found myself in this position where I needed a mindset change. I needed something to change my mindset in a way that I wasn't feeling sorry for myself anymore. Obviously, I was in a lot of pain and I was in a lot of struggles. I wasn't living my life as I thought I was going to do and was going to be as a professional athlete. But I needed to know how other people are living their lives. I needed a cultural difference. I needed to experience what life is on the other side, because obviously I'm from the Netherlands, Amsterdam, very well developed country. Everything is arranged very well, but that doesn't mean that everywhere in the world it's the same. So I went to Ghana and I did volunteer work in an orphanage for about 6 months. I met some of the most amazing kids, most amazing people that dedicate their lives to helping others. And what I discovered is that what I thought for me was a tough life, as in spending it in a wheelchair and having pain every day, I actually discovered that there are kids who weren't able to get a wheelchair and had to go around on a skateboard to be able to move from A to B. And that really opened my eyes. It made me realize, like, what is my sadness is their luxury. And I became so much more grateful for my own life. I became so much more, I could see things more in perspective, which I think is something that everybody in this world really needs, is to be able to see things in perspective and to be able to have a look at what does go right and what do I have and what can I do in this society. So after the volunteering in Ghana, I went back home to the Netherlands and I started looking for jobs again, because I thought, hey, I have 6 months of experience now. I did some work. I can do things. And then the interesting thing was I started looking for job. I had a degree, I had experience, I had a good motivation. And then what shocked me was that I went to do a little experiment. I went into job interviews because at that time I was able to walk, but only short distance. So certain job interviews I went in walking, just presenting me as Julia Brouwers, normal girl from Amsterdam, and they offered me a job. The other job interview, I went in with my walker, and they started asking me different questions than they would on my first job interview. And on the third interview, I went in my wheelchair and I just realized that getting into the building wasn't even easy for me at all. Like, I had to go to the building in the basement and like all this, you know, hard things come on my path. And that made me realize that there is just a lot of different opportunities for different kind of people. And it's not very usual that you, it's not very like easy when you have a disability. Just things become harder all of a sudden. And why is that? And why do people look at you differently when you have a disability? So luckily enough, I found a job. I found a job at Rituals Cosmetics, one of the biggest, fastest growing cosmetical brands in the Netherlands and in Europe, actually. And I found a job and I was very happy. I started working part-time as I couldn't do a full-time job, unfortunately, because of my disability. And they asked me to become a member of the diversity and inclusion team, which was very interesting for me because the company itself, it had a lot of white, blonde girls, just like me, in the company. And I thought, okay, I am actually in this company who we have, I think it was around 800 people on the headquarters. I was the only one with a disability. And I wanted to change that. I wanted to create change. I wanted to have a deeper look into what does diversity and inclusion actually means. What does it mean for corporates? What does it mean for the employees? What does it mean for the colleagues? So I started just shifting my job completely to diversity and inclusion. And I posted on my LinkedIn. I don't know if you guys all have LinkedIn. I had a LinkedIn profile. I had about, I think, 150 friends or connections, since I never had a job before. So I had no idea what to do on LinkedIn anyway. And I started to post a vulnerable story of how it had been very difficult for me to find a job, and how I was so grateful that I finally found a job within Rituals and that they offered me a chance. Because as soon as they offered me a chance and they saw what I was capable of, I started growing and I started having, getting different job opportunities. I was growing on my personal path and my career path. So I started to share this story with the picture, as you can see on the right, of me in the wheelchair. And I asked my sister and my brother, can you please like it for me? Because I'm a bit afraid nobody will like it and they will think I'm weird and I'm sitting in my wheelchair and nobody's going to understand this. And my sister called me up and she was like, Julia, what do you mean nobody will like it? You already have like 6,000 likes. And I was like, what? But I don't even have 6,000 friends. How come? I only have 150 connections. She's like, I think you're going viral with this story. And I couldn't believe it. So I logged it back into my LinkedIn profile because I didn't even have the app installed on my phone. I logged back in and I saw that 2 days later, my post was viewed by 1.3 million people, almost 1.4 million people. And I thought, that's interesting. Why do people like this post so much? Because what is it that triggers them? And this was in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, 2019. No, I'm sorry. This is 2020 in COVID year, in August, 2020 in August. And I started to realize that people really liked the LinkedIn post because it was real. It is a story, it's vulnerable. People could connect to it. I even posted, I posted a little message and I said, if any of you is struggling with the same thing, please feel free to reach out to me and if I can help you. And I thought maybe 1 or 2 people is gonna reach out, but the 3,500 people reached out to me and shared their stories on how it's difficult to find a job. People with disabilities, without disabilities, from a different background, people with different religion, people with all different stories. And I actually replied to every single one of them because I thought that was, what I should have been doing. I had the most amazing conversations. I was asked to do public speaking. I was asked to do radio interviews. And I really started diving deeper into the whole diversity and inclusion thing. Also, what I did was, while I was joining the diversity and inclusion team, I started to really have a proper
look.
Hi,
Julia, sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
But the slides, we are still on the first page itself.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, how is that possible? Can you, which slide can you now see?
The title slide.
Oh, no, because I'm already on the 5th. 1 second, I'm gonna stop sharing. Thank you for letting me know. I had absolutely no idea. Let me see. Can you now see this?
Yes, we are back on the title slide. Yes, we can see you, my story.
Okay, so you can see my story.
Yes.
You can see the swimming career.
Now, yes.
Okay. I was actually already on this slide, so I'm so sorry, guys. I had no idea. Good, thank you for letting me know. So yeah, this was the LinkedIn post I was just referring to. And then as I went on, I was thinking, what is it that corporates can actually do to really make a change, to really change their perspectives, to change their mindset? And are diversity and inclusion teams even diverse and inclusive? because that's one of the first things that is actually often missing. It is what happens is that we as human beings, we try to connect with someone, and the easiest way to connect with someone that feels safe is to connect with someone that looks like you, that comes from the same background, that comes from the same social standard, that comes from the same income level, because it's something that you know. And oh wait, I just see. Okay, I just saw the chat box as well. Sorry, I didn't have a look before. Oh, sorry. Yes. So what happened is that within the diversity and inclusion team, I started to have proper conversations with the recruitment teams. And one thing that is most important about a corporate and diversity and inclusion is to have a diverse recruitment team. This doesn't always have to be just, you know, hiring people from different backgrounds, especially if you maybe have you live in a place where there's only, you know, your own culture. But it's important to hire people from different standards, from different points of view in life, because once you do it, I will come shortly with all the facts and all the benefits of this. It's just very, very important. And what I noticed was, is disability, is it also accessibility? Because when I was working there, every day of the week, I had to go in through the office, through the basement, where there was one elevator that I could access the building. There were places in the building I couldn't go with my wheelchair. And that just makes you feel very excluded. It makes you feel like nobody thought of you. And obviously I was working in Amsterdam, and Amsterdam is quite an old city, and buildings are not, you know, really prepared for 2023 living. So it wasn't necessarily their fault, but it was just nice as soon as they started making changes, such as, hey, Julia, can I help you upstairs? Or is there anything I can help you with? You know, people who became more thoughtful. That was just the main thing that was just so amazing, because you feel more included. And this is something I had never realized myself up until I was 14 years old, because I was just living a usual life that everybody was living. But once you feel like you're different, it is just nice to feel accepted. It is nice to be surrounded by people that think of you, by people that embrace your disability or your difference, and help you further with that. So as I move in to the next slide, can everybody see this slide now? I just want to check. Someone can let me know. Let me see. Yes, okay, perfect. So thank you guys for answering. So why cultural diversity matters inside corporates? So when you do research to this, you're most likely to find that most companies will actually have representation for cultural diversity. And these are the things that will come up. It's the first one, increased creativity and innovation. Two is a broader market understanding, improved decision-making, increased employment engagement and retention, help problem solving and adaptability, access to a broader talent pool, and cultural diversity encourage difference in opinions. So I will just go through every one of them just to have a little bit of my look on it. And when we come to the first one, it's increased creativity and innovation. What often happens is that diverse teams are likely to generate different outcomes. So when I started to work in the diversity and inclusion team, and I started to tell people, hey, the building is not very accessible for people in wheelchairs, or there's not a toilet for people that have a disability, people started saying to me, why didn't we come up with this like 10 years ago? Because we've been renting this place for so long now. And the answer to this question is because there was no one that had a disability before that could point it out. So once you have a team that has people from different backgrounds, different religions, different, you name it, things like a prayer room that might be missing because people are Catholic and other people are Muslim. These kind of things will be brought up to the table, which would never have been there before, because simply there was no one to address it. There was no one to mention it. There was no one to say like, hey guys, we need this, or we have a different solution for the same problem. And this is when you have more cultural diversity in your team, it will literally create an increased creativity and innovation level. And this is really great for competitive advantages. So for the market, for the company in general. So when we go to point 2, it's a broader market understanding. I remember being at this in this cosmetical world, having a talk, and a Black girl came to me and she said, why is it that your products are only for white or light-skinned people? And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, well, with my afro and my hair type and my skin type, your products are not usable for me. And I thought, you know, I addressed this to the boardroom and all these things. And it's just funny because when there's no Black person to address to you that this is something that's missing, you're really missing a big market opportunity, because the market share will increase so ridiculously if you do make up a product, do come up with a product that's actually accessible for everyone. So I think once they start working on that, their market share just increased by so much. And this is something that it doesn't matter what kind of product you're selling. It's really important to have a look on how can I make my product so inclusive for everyone that it will be accessible for everyone, usable for everyone, and therefore I will sell it to so much more people. Then the third one is improved decision making. So better informed decisions from different points of view, it will just widen your customer base. It's simple as that. And then number 4, increased employee engagement and retention. Employee retention is very, 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 very important in company growth. And I think this is something that is very underestimated by a lot of people, and especially a lot of board members or directors, or but people are more likely to stay in your company when they don't feel isolated, when they don't feel left out, and when they feel like I am important, as important as everyone, my opinion matters, I feel at peace, I feel like there's other people that look like me, I feel like there's other people that come from places like me. And often with, if you have a company and it's only people from one place, sure, they feel all involved. But as soon as you try to make this change and try to hire more diverse, you see that the gaps between these people is way bigger, and that other people that you try to involve are not likely to stay longer in your company because they're like, yeah, but I'm the first one. And yeah, that would just be, you know, such a shame. Number 5 is help problem solving and adaptability. It's just so much easier to solve complex problems with different perspectives. You know, if you only have one kind of mindset, you're never going to be able to maybe like solve the problem. But once you have 10 different kinds of mindset, 10 different kinds of perspectives, people will come up with different solutions to your problem. By the way, I see one hand raised, but I will do a questions and answers at the end of this session, so you guys can ask me everything you want. Then we go to 6, access to a broader talent pool. This is something I remember. I asked one CEO of a company. I asked him, do you think diversity and inclusion for your company matters? And this is $1 billion company, actually. And CEO says, or I asked him, what is it that you can do to be more diverse and more inclusive? And he said, Miss Julia Brouwers, I'm already hiring the best people. And that was it. That was his answer. And I was so shocked because it showed me how he really had no idea what my question was about. He just thought that, yes, I'm hiring the best people. But if you always search within, for example, if you only post a job interview on your LinkedIn page, maybe not everybody has LinkedIn, or maybe not everyone, you know, maybe only the people from the same kind of places use the platform. Once you started posting your job description on different kind of platforms in different kind of areas, different kind of environment, other people will have access to it, which is so simply so important, because then you start to be more diverse and also be more accessible for different kind of people. And then the last one is cultural diversity, encourage difference in opinions. And I think this is something I already slightly explained. It's just important when you have people from different kind of ages, different kind of groups, you name it, you just have different opinions. And people come from different places. They can have different point of view on problems, problem solving. It's just, yeah, it encourages it, and it's very important. However, the challenge of cultural diversity is to face misinterpretations. And one example, for example, is that I am Dutch. I am from the Netherlands, and as Dutch people, we tend to be very direct, very straightforward. We're often, you know, if you're not used to it, it might be considered a bit rude or overwhelming. And you just have to be very understanding of this concept that where you are from, things will be done a certain way. But that doesn't mean it's like that for everyone. You know, in your family, you might have traditions and religions and things that you like, how you come across, but this might not be for everyone. And it's very important to kind of like sit with each other on the table and see like, how can we fix the issues that we have, and how can we try to best understand each other and leave everybody, you know, in his worth. So we go to the last slide. Let me see. So what can you do? I'll first introduce this little, this quote of mine, which is actually my favorite quote throughout my whole life. And it's, when I is replaced with we, even illness becomes wellness. And I think Malcolm X couldn't have said this any better way. I really think this is true, and not even with illness as in the real illness, but also just in general. If you just start thinking about someone else, if you just start thinking from someone else's point of view, if you start to broaden your mindset and really try to take in other people's perspectives, other people's way of living, and you try to respect that and find solutions together, every situation can be doable, you know, as long as you're not alone. And I think that is really, really beautiful. So what can you do as an employee or as maybe an employer? It is implement diversity and inclusion initiatives. I think this is very important. Establish diverse hiring practices. So like I said before, it just is simply very important to also have your recruitment team not only being from the same place of people or same kind of people. If you already have the recruitment team being so different, me as a white young woman, if I have 4 people sitting across me and one of them is also white and young and a woman, I might go for her because she looks like me. It's something I'm familiar with. It's maybe not very likely I'll go for the black man, and that's just your unconscious bias. It doesn't mean I'm a bad person, and it doesn't mean I'm having wrong intentions. It simply means I have to train myself every single day to get rid of my unconscious bias, or to be aware of them, at least to deal with them in a way that you know you have them, and you'll do everything in your power to make sure you don't listen to them and explore different ways of thinking, and therefore including people. Number 3 is engage with people from different backgrounds. So I think that is very important. You know, also within the company, if you're an employee and you have colleagues that maybe have a different religion, maybe have a different age, you know, you're 26, someone else is 56, have a conversation with them, learn from them. What do they have to say? What do they think about certain things in the company? What do they think about life? You can just learn so much more if you hang out with people that are completely different from you, simply because they have a different story to tell you. And number 4 is support diverse leadership development. And I think that especially as employers, this is one of the most important things in the company. If the board members are all men, all in the 50s, a young woman like me will never think they have a chance to become a board member as well. And this is just demotivating. If you know you have a chance of growing into the company, you'll just do so much more of your best to kind of like reach that level, and you know, you have a goal to live up to. And then the last one is celebrate cultural events and holidays. This is something that employees can just simply already start doing. You know, if you know someone else is from a different religion or background or whatever, try to integrate the holidays. Try to just make it a special moment, even if it's 10 minutes on the day, just to say congratulations to them, to wish them a happy new year, to wish them whatever the holiday might be or the event might be. It's just very important for people to feel included. And then last but not least, remember, promoting cultural diversity is an ongoing process that requires continuous efforts, education, and commitment from all levels of the organization. And I think this is something to really keep in mind and to really be aware of. This is how we come to the last page of this slide. And as I always like to say with everything I have gone through in my life, adversity is not the end of the story. It's just a plot twist that reveals our strength and resilience.
Hi, I'm Reenu here. Hello. Am I audible? Hi. So I'm from a company called DB Schenker. Yeah. So my question is that, you know, diversity, we all understand now, at least we think that we are understanding it because we are being sensitized to it, you know.
Yes.
Almost all of us are being sensitized in the organization around it. At times we were not even be able to take a note of it because we thought that it is so natural, you know, to like somebody. And when we were taking interviews and we were hiring people who were like us, we always thought that we are being very unbiased and quite correct. Now we have this one more question asking that are we hiring because the person is just like us and we are not open to a different worldview or different somebody from different community. But how do we expedite this? Because what is happening, I think diversity is spoken more in the HR circle. I think so. And it has only become a checklist in many organizations.
Yes, very correct. Yes.
So how do we, what do we do about it that it doesn't become a checklist and it is really considered a way of life?
Yes, I think, well, very good question. This is something definitely that I always struggle with, and that what I also try to say with sometimes things are just done just to tick a box, basically. And I think the most important thing, that's why I also had a slide that says it starts with you. And I think one thing that some people try to run away of is their own responsibility that they have inside the organization. It's not just the employer that needs to be sure that, okay, that we're working on the diversity and inclusion points, but it's also the employees, and it's also how you treat your colleagues. And of course, this is very much a HR thing, huh? But so is it also for the employees, because just imagine HR hiring 5 new people in the company. Can you just mute yourself? I don't know how to do that.
Manish, can you please go on mute?
Yes, okay, ma'am.
Thank you. Where was I? Let me think. Yeah, so it is just very important. And for example, if the HR decided, okay, we're gonna invite 6 new people to the company, and they're all from a different place, and then as soon as they're there, sorry, but it's just, I don't know if the Ketki, can you maybe mute him? Is that possible? Sometimes it's possible. Oh, I think it's solved. Thank you. So so the issue is, if then there are 5 or 6 people that are hired, they're different, the different age groups, whatsoever, and they are not being accepted or included by the employees, they will not stay for very long in your company anyway. So this is why I said this is something that everybody should be aware of, not even only in the corporate world, but also outside of there. You know, try to talk to people that don't look like you, try to people that come from different angles, different perspectives, have different opinions about things. It will already start a progress of diversity and inclusion. And it will not only just be something, oh, let's tick a box and then we've done with that. And then, you know, and also maybe held your manager or held the manager of your manager accountable for what they've said they will do, and check with them if they're actually following up on it. And if it's not just a checklist that they're you know, ticking the box off, but just make sure that you take some responsibility in your power and just have a conversation with your manager. What actually happens with us? We said every month we will celebrate this, this and that, and it didn't happen once. Just make them accountable for it. So that's how you can, how you can participate in that. I hope this answered your question. I see 2 more hands, so please feel free for the next question. To ask the next question, I mean.
Can I go?
Yes, you can go.
Hi, Julia. It was quite inspiring the way you narrated your story. My name is Nirmal. I have 2 questions to ask. One is, you spoke about a lot of corporates stepping in and trying to make changes, long-term changes. What are the governments in the European side of the world doing to drive home this philosophy of diversity?
The government, you said the government, or the okay. I think it's interesting. Thank you for this question. I think it depends. I can mostly only speak for the government of the Netherlands. I think that's where my knowledge is the most, if at all. But I think what they are trying to do, what you can see now, what is happening. Obviously, I've never been to India, so I don't know much about it, and I cannot really compare or, you know, give much advice on this whatsoever. I can speak for the Netherlands, and we're a very small country. We only have 17 million people, and we're also not very large occupied piece of land. So we're really very small. But however, we do have a lot of different nationalities in our country. And this was after the wars and everything. Like, it's just a very mixed group of people. And what I see changing is that in the government, every year or every 4 years with the elections, when you have the list where you can vote, I can just tell that there are so many more women that you can vote on. There's so many more people of color that you can vote for. There's so many people from Asia that you can vote for, from Africa. And that is something that, so there's more and more parties that are from different angles and different backgrounds. But obviously it's still to the nation to decide who's going to rule your country, right? And I think that for example, in the UK, they have an Indian president right now. Or not the president, the prime minister, I'm sorry. He comes from an Indian background, if I'm not mistaken. And it's just so inspiring to see, because this is something where smaller kids will look at the TV nowadays and just see themselves as a prime minister or as whatever. And it's just so important for the next generation as well to feel inspired. And I think governments are now making sure that there's policies in schools, there's policies in sport clubs and things like that, to really make sure that everybody feels safe and that everybody gets a chance to develop. And I think this is just a few small things that I can now come up with. I would have to do more research into it to really answer your question properly. So sorry for that. But these are just a few things that I can come up with that I know are happening. So I hope this answers your question.
Yes, to some extent. Now there is a second part.
Yes.
I was always intrigued by this, how to strike a balance when you are driving some initiatives, right? There is a larger philosophy for the good of human beings, right? Where everybody wants to feel included, wants to feel accepted.
Yes.
But at the same time, there is a view that many people who are not completely in line with the idea of inclusion say that this is being politically correct, while not looking at the reality. Because there have been clashes, there are clashes of ideology, there are clashes of gender, right, identity. So how, when you spoke about an African American woman walking up to you and talking to you about the hair product, right? So similar conflicts, or maybe this was about hair product, but there could be something more sensitive, right? When
Yes.
there's a mix of people working. So have you faced any of those things? If you can just share an example of that.
Good question. So in my personal life, I have, because actually my fiance, he's Black. He's from Ghana. I met him there. And so my family-in-law, everybody's Black. And I can see that every day I learn new things about different cultures. I have to adapt to. Not everything will only go in my way or how I'm used to. So I think there are some certain things that will come up that you can see that you just face very different opinions about things. And in the corporate world, let me think. I think the sensitive things that we have been passing is that in the company I worked for previously, there was only, I think, 2 or 3 Muslims in our company. And we didn't have a prayer room, which was something that really bothered me, because I just didn't understand why this wasn't, a thing. And I remember someone on the table saying, yeah, but if it's only for 3 people, why would we do it? And then I remember there was a little bit of a conflict on the table back then, where I didn't agree with his answer at all. And I thought, even if it's 1 person, you should do it, So yeah, this is something that just comes on top of my mind as an example. And I think when you just try to be respectful and just try to understand where someone else is coming from, where you are coming from, and what if the goal that you're trying to achieve is the same for everyone, then it's easier to find a solution. And obviously, like you said before, if people have different opinions about it, it might be just trickier, but it's just more of a challenge. And then it's just a challenge on how can you communicate well enough to make sure that the goal in the end is going to be reached. So yeah, I hope this answered your questions a bit.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I see another hand. So who else like the question?
Hi, Julia. This is Akanksha.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you so much for, probably sharing your experience and, letting us know that, how other cultures are also following the D&I practices. Would just want to, add, we've been doing a lot of D&I programs and initiatives within the organization. I think first cut, what's the most important act that we do, as you mentioned, rather than thinking about it should be we.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very important to change the mindset of the people.
Yes, definitely.
Which I think,
which is the hardest thing to do, by the way.
Yes, exactly. So mindset of the people. And secondly, I think people at the leadership level, they should encourage probably the D&I practices, which will help us to grow and, effectively we could, take this ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll share one of the experiences with me. I have been a person who's been doing recruitment for last 13 years.
Yeah.
So, there was one of the positions which I was trying to close for one of my stakeholders. Okay. But for XYZ reason, for more than 2 months, the position wasn't able to get closed. When I actually sat down with the stakeholder and, in order to understand where the gap is, I figured it out. The stakeholder was more inclined to hire a male for that role rather than a female, because it was a sales focused profile.
Okay.
Okay, so in this interim, he was actually not shortlisting a lot of females because of this thought process that there's going to be late working hours, there are going to be meetings outside the city, the female won't be comfortable. I think this is one of the drawbacks which we face. People should think that now with the growing you could say the way industries are growing, people are growing, uh, roles cannot be specific to gender.
No.
And I still remember I was very confident in one of the candidates who was a female. I finally made her interviewed by that stakeholder, and we were able to probably place her in that role, and that stereotype was actually we were able to close on that stereotype. And then we actually told all the stakeholders to think on the roles that they are coming up, and in fact to allocate a percentage of females to their job roles and within their teams. So I think that's one of the things that we need to do to change the mindset of people, especially the leadership.
Definitely.
Because people look them as role models, their mentors. So whatever they will do, and if they initiate that, it will be easier to probably follow. Thank you.
Yeah, very well spoken. And thank you for this example. And this is indeed, it only takes one change and one success story for other people to believe in it. And sometimes it's just hard to convince someone when they have such a strong mindset and opinion about one thing. But it's great that you managed to, to show that it could be different, and that you fought for this. This is really a great story. Thank you so much.
This is Neha.
Hi. Hello.
Hi, hello. So thank you so much for addressing the very important issues of diversity, and especially related to your story, disability. I completely agree, and that's in fact a very wonderful thought that recruitment team itself should be really diverse. But I have 15 years of HR career, and I have often seen organizations struggling to recruit people with disabilities, not because they don't want to do it, but because they are at times in a business where there are very limited roles which could suit the person with disabilities. For example, if it is a consulting based organization, it is very easy to recruit someone on desk job. But if it is an engineering based organization or labor intensive work based organization, what they can do to contribute their bit and include PWDs, because I know the mental capability or the cerebral capacity is different from the physical capacity. But how they can leverage in such situation when there is no opportunity?
Well, a very amazing question, and so good that you ask it. I think there's two examples that I would like to give. Disability is not only physically, disability can be mentally. And there is, for example, a wide, broad range. I actually worked for one of the largest autism centers in the world in Dubai. I was Global Inclusion Ambassador there. And what I saw, what the kids were capable of, being autistic, some were nonverbal, but they could deliver some of the amazing art paintings, the amazing woodworks, things like that. And I think this is also all starts with creating opportunities for these children at a younger age, which is very important. But so a disability should not only be, a girl in a wheelchair, definitely not, or a boy in a wheelchair, but it could be the people that have, hearing problems, could be the people that are blind, could be the people that have an autistic disability. They are from the autistic the spectrum, I mean. There's just so much more to that. So I think once you start focusing on that, and there's one funny story, we had in the cosmetical brand, they were doing a new fragrance test, and they asked me if I could smell what was inside the bottle. Terrible nose, I don't know how, but I couldn't smell it. And then someone came up with the idea. He said, what if we find people inside the blind community to ask if they can do the test for us? Because often what is proven, if people are blind or deaf, their other senses are developed way better than other things. And I thought that was such a beautiful example of just, you know, sitting together with people in the room, and then people just come with ideas and ideas and ideas. So I think what you could do in your company, sit together, take 1 hour with 10 different people and ask them, what kind of people could we put on the jobs that are not necessarily the people that we would first go for, you know? And this could lead to some of the most amazing answers. So I hope this answers your question.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much.
Great, welcome. Thank you for asking.